Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the factions, forces, and formations of the Warhammer 40k universe, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace. There is only time for war. And today, we shall be taking a look at a successor chapter of the Raven Guard, those loyalist sons of the Primarch, Corvus Corax. Of course, I can only be speaking of the Death Spectres. Now a quick interlude, as I state that we do have a new channel, GK Natural History. Links in the description, so go check it out if you're looking for a relaxing couple of minutes. And so, as usual, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, the Death Spectres. The Death Spectres are a loyalist chapter of Space Marines of the 13th or Dark Founding. The Death Spectres are a successor chapter of the Raven Guard and share many of the same mutations found in the chapter's gene seed. Stationed behind the bounds of the Imperium, the Death Spectres keep constant vigil. Even with the Great Rift yawning wide, their thankless duty remains, ensuring that the mysterious, deathless inhabitants of the Ghoul Stars never again ascend to threaten the galaxy. The Death Spectre's home planet is the cemetery world of Occludus. Chapter History. Of the dark and terrible times known to later historians as the Nova Terra Interregnum, when the Imperium fractured into warrior factions during the late 34th millennium, there exist in what records remain from this era scattered and veiled references to a great threat arising from the Ghoul Stars, known as the Pale Wasting. Much of the extant evidence relating to this threat has been censored or purposefully destroyed, but there are contradictory indications which describe the nature of the threat as being a star-spawned plague that swept away scores of worlds and as nightmare engines, slaughtering the populations of whole sectors. Those partial records which have been uncovered suggest the threat was Xenos in nature, and that more than one Space Marine chapter may have been completely destroyed in the course of the conflict. The Xenos threat, briefly mentioned in Imperial historical records, might be the Sexian elite of the Sexian Trade Empire, a biomorphic race few in number but strong in influence. They hailed from the oxidized worlds known as the Blood Moons of Thex Prime, which are located in the region of space called the Ghoul Stars. These vile Xenos are known to be masters of manipulation and have worked themselves into integral positions in the Borlak, Loxatl, and Nikasar civilizations. Though Sexians are famously persuasive, when guile is not enough, their battle form is quite horrifying to behold. 11 Space Marine chapters were lost in the final battles of what must have been a truly apocalyptic struggle. The chronicles of many chapters who took part in this campaign are curiously empty of any reference to this conflict, and it is quite possible that this ancient threat may also account for the unusually large number of formerly human-inhabited death worlds in the region. Following this lamentable period of history, the 13th Founding, also known as the Dark Founding, occurred sometime between the 35th and 36th millennia, and is one of the very rare foundings of Space Marine chapters that were not recorded in exact detail. Since the Horus Heresy, the Adeptus Terra has maintained a bank of original gene seeds tithed by every single chapter ever created, with one notable exception, the 13th Founding. There are no reliable records that indicate how many chapters were created during the Dark Founding, or what became of them. Full disclosure of the exact details of this mysterious founding may lie buried deep within the record office of the Adeptus Terra. Side note, many of these chapters have now been identified, and we shall get onto them in due course. Sidebar over. Following their creation, the Death Spectres were stationed beyond the frontiers of the Imperium and charged by the High Lords of Terra to maintain a constant vigil to ensure that the inhabitants of the Ghoul Stars never again threatened this galaxy. The nature of the threat could not be overstated enough, and the containment of such a species as the Thexians was worthy of the attention of an entire chapter of Astartes. When Megir Merin Cordaeus first swore his oath of office before the Emperor and placed his blade at the foot of the Golden Throne, he received a vision from the Emperor himself. This vision led him to the world of Occludus and the mysterious artifact known as the Shariax, the Throne of Glass. Little is known of its purpose, and nothing is known of its origin. The Shariax is an archaic throne, contained in an ancient secret dome called the Temple of Voices, deep beneath the planet's surface, and directly underneath the chapter's fortress monastery of Logopol. The throne is where the Magyar rules Occludus and the chapter, but it is also where he will inevitably die. All Magyar, upon taking that position within the chapter, take the throne the same day as they take their oaths of office. Upon taking the throne, they never rise again, and only rarely communicate with the chapter, and when they do, only with a few select members. Exactly what the Shariax does is vaguely hinted at. In return for immense power that can be felt even in the planet's orbit by psychers, the throne slowly drains the life out of whoever sits in it, while also slowly petrifying them, eventually turning the Magyar to stone. What this mysterious power is that the Magyar is gifted with is unknown, except for the sheer scale of it. When the Magyar turns even a portion of this power to some task, the implications are apparently staggering. The fact that it seems to be a psyker-based technology implies that one must be a psyker to use it, reinforced by the fact that when the Magyar finally passes, the current Messazar of the chapter, or chief librarian, takes his place. But the references are vague, and it may just be based on the fact that the chapter's strongest warrior must be the new Magyar, and thus it is he who must sit upon the throne. Over the millennia, the Death Spectres have been preparing for the Kadash, which translates to living chalice. Someone of great significance who, upon taking their place upon the Shariax, will bring about the great resurrection. The leadership of the Death Spectres has apparently been sowing the seeds of fate to bring about the Kadash's rise throughout the chapter's history. Notable campaigns: Vern 4 Offensive, Year 140, Millennium 40. Vern 4 was the scene of a conflict between the Death Spectres, the Drukari Cabal of the Envenomed Thorn, and the Void Dragons Eldari Corsair Warband. Macarian Crusade, 392 to 399, Millennium 41. The Death Spectres took part in the Macarian Crusade, which was a monumental 7-year-long Imperial crusade, led by Lord Commander Solar Macarius, the Imperium's greatest Astromilitaran commander of all time, and a recognized tactical and strategic genius, on a par with the Primarchs themselves. This crusade took place on the far western edge of the galaxy, within the Segmentum Pacificus, reaching as far as the border of the galaxy with the intergalactic space, and even reaching into the unknown regions of the Halo Zone. The furthest extent of this crusade reached just beyond the edge of the Segmentum Pacificus, where not even the blessed light of the Astronomicon could penetrate the dark void. Most Imperial savants agree that Macarius was the most successful and brilliant Imperial warmaster since the arch-traitor Horus. Nearly 1,000 worlds were brought back into the Imperial fold in only 7 standard years of fighting. Yet upon his death, the newly won territories erupted into the civil war known as the Macarian Heresy, as Macarius' various generals vied for control, fighting over the spoils as degenerate warlords. The Achilles Crusade. The Death Spectres deployed forces in service of the Achilles Crusade to retake the Jericho Reach for the Imperium. High Fleet Jormungandr, Year 955, Millennium 41. The tendrils of High Fleet Jormungandr began to brush against the northeastern boundaries of the Imperium. The Death Spectres and Honored Sons chapters led the Imperial counterattack against this arm of the Great Devourer. The 13th Black Crusade, Year 999, Millennium 41. The Death Spectres participated in the siege of Lelithar and the defense of the Cadian sector against the 13th Black Crusade. The Death Spectres fielded 6 companies against the forces of chaos in this campaign. Chapter Organization. The Death Spectres appears to be a chapter organized around the standard dictates of the Codex Astartes. The Death Spectres place a strange emphasis on assault marines and other close combat specialists, as was shown during a major assault undertaken by the chapter during the 13th Black Crusade, which involved some 600 Astartes equipped for a jump pack assault on a traitor stronghold. Specialist ranks. The Death Spectres' order of battle contains several specialist formations and officer titles not present in other Space Marine chapters, which are derived from the language of the natives of Occludus. Megir, a title equivalent to the esteemed rank of Chapter Master in other Space Marine orders. Messazar, a title equivalent to Chief Librarian of the chapter, also the de facto leader of the chapter in the Megir's absence. Megron, a title equivalent in fellow chapters to Master of the Flag, a position held by one of the chapter's captains. Menrahir, the title given to the Death Spectres equivalent in fellow chapters of a chapter council. The word means sage in the native Occludian language. Terrorblade, a unique position with the ranks of the Death Spectres chapter's command squad, whose definition is not fully understood. As it is uniquely named, it can be assumed that the position is different from that of a standard company champion, or some other title commonly used amongst other Astartes chapters. Wargeists. The veteran first company of the Death Spectres is known as the Wargeists. They are known to wield power size in melee combat. Death Spectre Librarians. Like their fellow Astartes chapters, the Death Spectres also maintain a librarius of potent psychers, who are highly talented and trained to master the power of the warp at the highest levels. Each chapter selects its librarians in its own way, either from its seed worlds, as it does with the bulk of its initiates, or from the ranks of gifted psychers brought to the Scholastica Psychana. Most chapters train and test chosen psychers following the ancient ways laid out in the Codex Astartes. The chapter's librarius, known as the Order, possess a size and power that is unique among Space Marine chapters. The Messazar is known to command the chapter in the absence of the chapter's Megir. There are some references to the Megir as a psyker, who would then of course also be considered a member of the chapter Librarius. The Death Spectres librarians appear to place great emphasis on reading the tides of fate and time, and appear to have an unparalleled mastery for changing the future they foresee. The Messazar are noted for being able to place prophetic notes in time itself, through their sheer power, enabling the Death Spectres to be in the appropriate place in the event certain eventualities come to pass. Through these techniques, the chapter librarius seemingly alters the future to a degree that few imperial organizations can even dream of. Chapter aspirants are known to experience 2 deaths while trying to earn a place within the chapter. The first death is experienced at around 10 Terran years of age, when an aspirant first begins the gene seed organ implantation process. The aspirant is injected with a lethal toxin and remains dead until he revives on his own. Failure leads to oblivion. The second death takes place at the end of the aspirant's implantation process, when the neophyte takes his place amongst the chapter. This death is much more intense, as the aspirant experiences death for solar hours rather than minutes. A third death can also sometimes take place, but this is only for members of the Librarius, who wish to attain the rank of Codicea, and greater power as a result. A deeply held belief within the Death Spectres chapter is that of the Black River, which is seen by aspirants of the Librarius during the ritual deaths they experience. It is unconfirmed if non-psyker aspirants experience this as well. Though their first death is for the shortest duration, it is also the greatest, as during the trial, one is assailed by the Black River's currents, and the forces that are drawn to it and the person experiencing it. This first trial is an arduous one, as it is a task that aspirant has no experience in dealing with, and so failure is quite common. Chapter Recruitment. The Death Spectres have an unsettling way of recruiting new aspirants into their chapter. By the orders of the Megir, the Death Spectres seek out suitable human-settled colonies far from the heart of the Imperium, where they collect the best genetic specimens of women they can find. The women are taken to a suitable breeding world, established near the Death Spectres' homeworld of Occludus. There the women are expected to bear future generations who might prove capable of joining the ranks of the Death Spectres as neophytes. Chapter Gene Seed. Like the Raven Guard, the Battle Brothers of the chapter possess a minor mutation that causes the melanchromatic organ, which controls the amount of melanin in an Astarte skin tone, to not function properly, leading to the development of albinism in Death Spectres Astartes. Another aspect of the genetic flora of their gene seed is that it causes all members of the chapter to possess glowing blood-red eyes as well. Over time, the Death Spectres have lost the use of two of the special organs produced by the basic Astartes genetic template, the Betcher's gland, which allows a Space Marine to produce poisonous or acidic spittle, and the mucranoid, which causes a Space Marine's body to secrete a waxy protein substance similar to mucus through his pores that seal his skin. Space Marines are cocooned in this way before they enter suspended animation, and the process can even protect them from the harshness of the vacuum and other extremes of temperature, particularly deeply frigid environments. Chapter Beliefs. The existence of indigenous and often unique cult belief systems, martial philosophies and variations of the cult Imperialis within the Adeptus Astartes is far from uncommon. To the Death Spectres, death is important to them in the nature of the traditions of their chapter. It is not important in the more morbid sense, such as the way the Mortificators chapter celebrates it, but in a more somber, respectful sense, such as the way the Star Phantoms embrace it. True to Imperial dogma, the Death Spectres hold as a central tenet of their beliefs that only those who die in battle will be reborn. And while they give little leeway or respite to the living, they deeply honour those who fall in the Emperor's service, and hold the many martyrs of the Imperium and the dead of their chapter with extreme reverence. Upon the death of a battle brother of the chapter, those Death Spectres whose bodies can be recovered are returned to Logopol, and are mummified, and then interred within the fortress monastery's catacombs. Death Spectres find great comfort and peace in the quiet of the endless graveyards and tomb cities of their homeworld. Battle Brothers of the chapter are also known to utilize a unique gesture, known as the Mesrahim, the salute of skull and throne. It is done by placing the left hand, palm up, next to the abdomen, and then placing the right hand in a closed fist in the palm of the left. Chapter Colours. The Death Spectres primarily wear black power armour. The inset of the shoulder plates are white with black trim. Their quilla or imperialis on the chest plate, as well as the helmet, are bone white. The white squad speciality symbol is painted on the red shoulder plate. A black low Gothic numeral is stenciled in the centre of the squad speciality symbol, which indicates squad number. The colour of the stripe on the right knee plate indicates which company a battle brother belongs to. Chapter Badge. The Death Spectres chapter badge is a large bone-white skull with a pair of crossed ebon sides directly behind it, centered on a field of white. End quote. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. If you are intent on gaining any figures, then do please consider getting a discount and using one of our affiliate links, as that helps us out of the guides. So a good deed while filling a need, so to put it. And do consider liking and subscribing. If you do, then please hit the notifications button, as I would not wish you to miss out. And if you enjoy our production here, you may well enjoy the new channel, GK Natural History. Simple, honest presentations of natural history. Links in the description. There is, of course, a Discord and merch link in the description as well. Thank you for listening. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.